All right, guys, welcome back to the Impact Defense Podcast. And in this podcast, this is a very special podcast. We have a very special setup, I guess, if you're watching. We have Gentry on one side of the table, and the three of us are on the other side of the table.
This is not an interrogation.
It kind of feels like an interrogation. But this is our Ask Us Anything episode for 125.
Where were you last night?
Here.
That checks out.
Okay, so as that goes, from this point forward, I turn all hosting over to Gentry.
Yay.
I will say this. We asked people for questions, and 35 questions were submitted. I passed all those along to Gentry. I did see those at the very beginning, but I don't really remember them a lot. I passed them all over to Gentry, and I said, here, you can make the order. You can do all the stuff. You get to ask us the questions. Let's just have fun. So this is just going to be kind of a fun episode of the podcast.
So I narrowed it down, took out my favorites, and we have a list of about 24 or 25 to start with.
Okay.
And then if we need to answer the rest, we can add those in at the end of a podcast later on, maybe one at the end or something.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Are y'all ready?
Anytime.
Okay. I'm going to ask this first question to all three of you, but I want you to answer first.
You want me to answer first?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Do you believe that self-defense is a human right?
Well, I happen, and admittedly, it was because I saw this question in the episodes. Oh, crap, Kylie is too. We happen to have this shirt that says self-defense is a human right. So yes, I believe that it is a human right. I believe, did you say why?
I was going to ask you why.
Okay.
So you can go ahead and answer that part as well.
Okay, so we get into a little bit of personal beliefs and things like that as well. So I believe that, well, number one, I think that every human is made in the image of God, and I believe that every human has the right to defend yourself and the life that you were given. That's where I stand on these things. I do believe it is a God-given human right.
Okay. Kylie, do you believe that self-defense is a human right?
Yes.
Do you want to elaborate, or is that just your
That's
simple
just
answer?
a straight answer.
Okay.
I think I can condense my entire belief on this into just a pretty short sentence, or maybe two sentences. I believe that human life inherently has value, and therefore I think if someone is trying to kill you, you have every right to try and kill them right back.
Yes.
I agree
Also,
with that.
that's a very similar line from one of my favorite lines I've ever heard in a TV show. And someone says, it's not right. Somebody tries to kill you, try to kill them right back.
But you not just only have inherently have value, but you have value to the people in your lives too. And if someone's willing to try and take you out of that person's life, then
Yeah, I think we said this many times in the women's self-defense seminars and stuff like that. No matter what you think of yourself, you are the most important person in someone's life. So if you are lost in one form or fashion, you're really damaging that person. Okay. Anyway, I think
all right.
maybe going too
Question
far.
2, Jada.
oh, interesting.
What do you think is the most important skill for self-defense?
Okay, give me a second to think about how to word this.
Okay.
I believe the most important skill is mindset, and just having the mindset of being willing to fight for yourself and being able to turn that on when it's necessary. Not everybody that I've seen has shown they have the skill of being able to turn on that real fight mode, but you really have to have that to defend yourself, because if you don't have the mindset of I'm worth defending or I am willing to defend myself, because some people believe they're worth defending, but it doesn't show in their action. So I think just the willingness to actually act on any belief that you have and fight for it, I think that's probably the most important skill for self-defense, because outside of the mindset, no action can occur.
Okay. All right, we're coming to you now. What are some common misconceptions about self-defense that you often encounter?
I think the fact that people believe that self-defense is fighting. When it comes to self-defense, it's not about fighting. I think about it like this way. If Kylie and I were to get into a fight in the ring, I have experience. I fought for a while in cages and rings and mixed martial arts and kickboxing. If we hop into a fight in the ring, we're completely different weight classes. I've been training longer than she's been alive. And then power, everything. Basically, almost every single advantage is in my corner. I would win in a fight. But can someone her size defend herself against somebody my size or me? Yeah. All of those things can go out the window simply by getting attention, maybe even avoiding to begin with. So I think that just one's ability to fight, and I think everybody needs the ability to fight to an extent for self-defense, but you're not getting into a boxing or kickboxing or a mixed martial arts match. You're defending yourself. You're just trying to fight to get away. And do I feel confident that Kylie can fight to get away from me? Yes. Yes, I do.
I do as well. I feel confident that she can.
Yeah.
Okay, this is for all three of you. I don't care who answers first. Who is your favorite martial arts movie star and why?
Jackie Chan.
Why?
Why? It has nothing to do with realism. It has nothing to do with anything like that. He makes the most intricate and interesting fight scenes I have ever seen.
Okay.
And I love the comedy aspect of a lot of what he does. But if you just watch the stuff that he does stuff. I mean, and I know he's older now, but I love to go back and watch his old movies. He did stuff in his fight scenes that I've never seen anybody else do. And that's basically what it boils down to.
Do you have an answer yet, Kylie?
No, because I've never really watched any martial arts movies.
That's not
I thought you were going to
true.
go with like Kung Fu Panda or something.
True.
So,
I don't know.
are you passing on this question?
passing on this
Okay,
question.
Jada.
Oh gosh. So I too don't really watch a whole lot of martial arts movies, and a lot of that sometimes comes down to it's not really my taste; it's my life. So I get to live it anyway. I don't really have a favorite. I think I have an appreciation for anybody who actually does their own stunts. So like Jackie Chan,
Yeah.
But I don't exactly have a favorite.
Okay, let's go, Kylie. What is the most unique self-defense technique you've ever learned or taught?
There's so many.
You're having to
Cal-
think
Cal-
about this?
Did you notice us all laughing? Just think about that.
We
for a
all
Drop
thought
below
about
the
the
screen?
same one. Oh my word.
What did you just say?
Drop, flow, wiggle, scream.
I don't think that's the one any of us were thinking of, but
It
you
is
could use
not.
that one.
I guarantee you all
Oh.
three of us were thinking the same way.
Wait. Monkey grabs the
Ha,
peaches.
There we go.
That's what we were
Okay,
looking
at least
Okay.
Jada and
for.
I were thinking of that one.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was thinking drop, flow, wiggle, scream because that's what she's most known for teaching.
What?
But
Wow.
it was because it goes back to that's what she's most known for
That
teaching.
is true. And the fact that I did aim
Yeah,
it
you-
at her.
you aimed it
but
at her, so-
I get where you thought that. But Jada and I immediately.
Yeah.
Remember, these are
Okay,
not
Kylie.
these are not my questions. These are questions people sent in. So, what was the name of your favorite technique?
Monkey grabs the peaches.
Do you want to explain any part of it or do you not?
Yeah, no. Go ahead. Explain it. So start out with
Immediate discomfort.
Start out with where. What kind of attack is it?
From like the back.
Yeah.
So
something
someone
goes-
grabbing you from behind. Mm-hmm. And that someone being a man. Mm-hmm. And basically, you are going to palm heel low,
groin. She's afraid to say groin.
grab, and shove down to the ground.
So if someone grabbed me from behind, I would shift out of the way, slam my hand into their groin, grab a handful, and drop to the floor
Yes.
with it. Okay.
I love that terminology. Grab a handful.
Grab a handful.
Drop straight to the floor.
Yes, for all the men and guys listening, that's the most uncomfortable thing I have ever
If you
taught.
haven't flinched yet, really picture that.
It is one of our favorite things to teach in the women's self-defense seminars. And we love the reaction to the name.
Yeah, that name comes from an old kung fu name of things. So it's not something we came up with or anything like that. And we don't do kung fu. We don't do any of that stuff. But once I heard somebody refer to that technique as monkey grabs the peaches, I was like, that will forever be known that at Impact Defense.
Absolutely. Okay. Next question. Let's go, Jada. In a situation where you're attacked, do you think it is more important to defend yourself or escape?
Well, the best way to defend yourself is to get away. So defending yourself, it is whatever it takes to stop a threat. And if you really appreciate self-defense and value human life, I think defending yourself in any way other than trying to escape should be a last resort. Even though I am trained in a lot of ways to defend myself with violence, you should always see it as your last resort. Mine, no matter how much training I have, it is so that I have options other than just violence to get away. Like, I'm a certified tactical running instructor, which is pretty much just the art of running away. So it really is, running away and escaping is defending yourself because you're stopping a threat through another means. So I don't think I can say which is more important because they're the same thing.
I think this one is only appropriate for you because they're fairly young.
Okay.
So, if you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of self-defense advice, what would it be?
Start earlier.
Start earlier.
Yeah. Start training earlier.
How old were you when you started training?
19. If I could have done it, I would have started much earlier.
I didn't know I
But-
wanted to start
but
until I was in my 30s. So, yeah, I could have started much earlier. It would have been better.
So, so like, I guess I would have had to go back and convince my parents.
Yeah.
Say, listen, he's going to do a lot of stuff with this. The longer he does this, the better.
Okay. Start earlier.
That would be mine.
Okay.
Kylie couldn't say that.
That's why I said I think this is an appropriate question
I'm
for
just
you.
saying Kylie couldn't say start earlier.
Yeah. How old were you when you started? Could you walk?
3.
She started classes when she could walk. I mean, when she was 3. But,
Okay.
I mean, of course, we played around and did things from the moment she could walk.
Just out of curiosity, Jada, how old were you when you started martial arts?
14. I was 14.
I think I was 32. I think.
You look at me like I know anything.
No.
I don't know how old you are now. I barely know how old I am right now.
I am 39. Okay. I'm going to start with you, but I want everybody to answer it.
Okay.
Do you have any self-defense related superstitions or rituals?
No.
Superstition.
No.
Or rituals?
I mean, I guess the closest thing to a ritual would be I don't generally leave the house without some type of force multiplier tool on me, which means knife, flashlight, or a gun.
And my
Or
husband
all three.
said that would be your answer.
Oh, really? Your husband knows me well.
He said
That's the closest thing to a
Yep.
ritual I have.
No.
no superstitions or rituals.
Nope.
I have a lot of different habits that I have built after starting self-defense training. One of them is I always have a force multiplier tool. That one's simple. 2, locking doors. Every time you get in the car, it's a habit now. Click the lock button. 2, when I'm approaching my car, when I'm in a public setting, when I'm about like 30 feet away, I just squat a little bit and glance under my tires. When I get closer, I check the back seat. And then when I open the door, I scan, open the door, get in, lock the door. It's just, little habits that you start to build. And then I guess the last one is I scan. Scanning whenever I walk into. I actually had someone at a concealed carry class because we have a restaurant just right across from the school. They were there for a concealed carry class. We all ended up going to the restaurant right beside us for lunch, and one of the people in the class said, "Man, you are always looking around." And it's not like I was sitting there darting my head in different directions looking panicked, but I had seen every corner of the room at least 5 times, since being in there. And I said, well, I didn't realize it was that noticeable.
I think
But-
it is maybe after they're listening to us talk
That's
about it.
very true because we had already discussed awareness. And so I'm just paying attention. And it really is something that I don't think of being as abnormal. But when you look at other people, they don't look around. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of little habits. I don't know how you would classify self-defense superstition. How would you?
I guess that would be more for superstitious people, and none of us really are superstitious. So
That's very true. I can't tell you how many times I've walked under a ladder.
on purpose, just to,
I open an umbrella indoors.
hang on, my questions left me. But I do know what the next question was.
I definitely have zero. I have nothing against black cats. So
Yeah, I have one. Okay, Brian,
Yes.
would you rather defend yourself against a gun or a knife?
Gun.
Why?
Like, I have no hesitation in that whatsoever.
I would not have had a hesitation in answering that either, but
So
why?
statistically speaking, you have a higher chance at dying if someone attacks you with a knife than a gun. People will fuss at me all the time every time I say that, but the truth is the truth, and you cannot argue against the statistics.
Mm-hmm.
Knives are they're just much harder to deal with. With a gun, you have one dangerous area, and that is the muzzle.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing you have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
If you can redirect and control that muzzle, you're not going to get shot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With a knife, it's so much harder to control. And I know that there are going to be some keyboard warrior self-defense experts out there. And I say it that way for that reason.
he would just like to say, "You're wrong."
Yeah. I mean, the fact of the matter is, we've had people come in and we've done things against gun and knives. And when things go live,
Yes.
so we have 1 week every year here at Impact that is knife week.
Mm-hmm.
Now we do knife stuff, throughout
Usually
the
near
year.
Christmas.
But
Is it?
it is usually toward the end of the year. It's not necessarily at Christmas, but it's toward the end of the year.
It's time to break out the markers.
Yeah, we pull markers out, and we have a tremendous time, and everybody gets to learn how hard knife defense really is. And with everybody's done gun defense, that's done that live with laser training your guns and stuff like that. When I say live, that's the kind of live things we do: is laser training or possibly airsoft sometimes. More people get more cut up and more what would be killing blows with knives than ever with anything with a gun. And we always try to, we wear shirts to class specifically for knife week, and then at the end of the week you get to see how much you got cut up. And we have pictures that we take, and people cut up all on their arms.
I
and
still want you to make shirts that say, "I might have survived knife week."
yeah, I know.
Ooh.
I think that's what we do this year.
Yeah.
It needs to have like a knife in the middle.
Yeah. I think that is definitely what we need to do this coming year for that. And I'm always looking forward to Knife Week. It's always really fun. The last one, though, I did end up with a broken nose. So
Whose fault was that?
technically it would have probably me.
Okay.
I was really pushing forward. I was really being mean. The other dude was a black belt. And, I kind of, while
You
attacking.
could call him out, just right
All right,
here.
Daniel. So when you hear this, Daniel, you better hear this. You can let me know. But yeah, I don't really remember exactly.
See, I thought the broken nose was last year.
That's right, it was. Yeah. So it was
We've had
the one
one
before last.
Yeah, we've had one
have
in
one.
between.
Yeah. So my bad. So that wasn't the last one. This time before last we did it, I ended up with a broken nose. Yeah, it gets a little rougher, which is why we only do it once a year. But it's a lot of fun, and I have never had anybody go through that and then quit because of it. Everybody goes through it and says, "Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. I'm hurt, but it's so much fun." That one year was the worst year because I ended up with a broken nose, and another guy ended up with a cracked rib.
Oh,
Yeah.
But that
Still
was
lots of fun.
That was the worst we've ever had.
Okay. All right. So you would rather.
Well, yeah, my bad.
You'd
That
rather
was
defend
way
against a
off.
gun than a knife.
I'll take a gun anytime.
Okay.
Also, the chances of them trying to actually kill you with a gun in public is
Yeah.
less likely because it's more of a threatening tool at that point in time.
Not just that, but I don't know about you, but I'd rather get shot than
Been
stabbed.
stabbed. I agree.
I think I'd just rather.
I would.
I would rather get shot than stabbed.
I guess it depends on what I'm getting shot by.
True. But
That's very
yeah.
true. Shotgun. I think I'd take a knife over a shotgun. But like
Too many holes.
anywhere, just between 20 and to 40, like I'm still fine with. I'd rather get shot.
Okay, moving on.
22 to a 40. Yeah.
I know what you meant.
What self-defense technique do you think are most effective for women, or techniques? what self-defense techniques do you think are most effective for women? I don't care who answers this one.
Awareness. I won't fall back to that basically most every time.
Yeah, awareness. And as far as I know, they're probably looking for some more like hard skills kind of
Kick 'em in the
answers.
groin.
Exactly.
That's what
Honestly,
everybody says.
if you can get really good at, if you can convince yourself to go for things, not only just the normal knees and elbows, because those work really well for women, but specifically anything that targets something that's going to do some serious damage. So even if it's shoving something into their eyes, like any kind of thing that is not fighting fair.
Right.
Those are the best ones for women in a very dangerous situation.
Right.
And that's just if you're already in it. If you're not already in the situation, then awareness and avoidance. Awareness, avoidance, and confidence.
Okay.
And then anything that really sucks.
Right.
That's about it.
Okay, Brian, what are the most common mistakes people make in self-defense?
Being stupid.
Doing stupid things with stupid people.
Yeah. I mean,
Stupid faces and stupid
there's a lot of truth to that. Most things happen because you have made certain. Now, I'm not saying everything. Most things happen because you have made certain mistakes to build up to be in an area that you shouldn't be in at a time you shouldn't be in with people that you shouldn't be with.
Yeah. Is there such a thing as a dangerous mindset for self-defense?
Yes, whenever you freeze.
Well, freeze or go way overboard, and you try to take on more than you should. You know, you think you stand there to fight when you should run away.
Right.
Overconfidence and underconfidence are equally horrible.
Yes.
I agree with that.
So, yes, there are a lot of dangerous mindsets for self-defense.
Yep.
Okay. I think everybody's in agreement with that one. Yeah. This is for you, Brian.
Okay.
What inspired you to start a self-defense podcast?
Well, actually, it was a conversation between me and Jada. Why did we start it?
I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
It was 125
and a lot of
episodes
stuff
ago.
has happened since then.
Yeah. We were in COVID. And, you know, one of the things, we were doing several things just to kind of keep information out there for people. We had not been, I guess all of our teaching had been online at that point in time for a little bit. And we just finally just looked at each other and said, you know what? We really want to do more to get more good information out for self-defense. And we just decided to start sitting down, quite literally, or standing up in a corner somewhere and having some conversations about self-defense. Our very first episode is still our most listened to episode, which still shocks me because it's just a short little episode of us standing or sitting against the wall and talking. And it's horrible audio and horrible everything. It is still our most listened to podcast.
Yeah, I think it probably had something to do with, like, we had tried several online courses, and it's just hard to get people to do any kind of something labeled a course,
Yeah.
but podcasts are popular, so.
Yeah. We just wanted to help educate people.
Okay. What advice do you have for someone who has never tried self-defense? I don't care who answers this one.
Like,
Beware.
tried self-defense training or I've never just defended themselves.
The way the question was worded is, what advice do you have for someone who has never tried self-defense?
Try it.
Try it, yeah. But maybe look into the place a little bit before you go to learn it.
Yeah. I mean, try a seminar. If you go out and learn, if you're considering a martial arts for self-defense, check out one of their seminars first. If they're teaching more stuff about mindset, about, you know, awareness, about all these things that are non-physical, they might be worth looking into. If you go in and say, here's how you throw a punch, here's how you throw a kick, here's how you do this, here, let's spin
Or
kick
here's
this
this
person.
pressure point.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
If they start doing crap like that, it's probably not worth your time if you're looking at it from a self-defense perspective.
For sure. There are several qualifications you want to look for.
But definitely
and
try a seminar somewhere.
Yeah. Reality is just the biggest qualification. Something that is going to be effective under pressure when you're hitting an adrenaline rush, when you're under the effects of adrenaline and shaky and freaked out. Is this something that you're going to be able to pull off when you are at your absolute worst? That's what you need to look at.
Yep.
And other than that, look for something that's well-rounded. If all they tell you to do is try to take things to the ground, they might be okay for that situation,
Or-
but look for something that covers more bases,
Yeah.
like weapons and running. And
Or if they go, oh, I have this. What was Scott telling us? This kata that teaches me how to never get taken down. You remember that? Yeah. If they do that crap too, stay away.
yeah,
All right. Do you have any irrational fears?
irrational fears.
Irrational fears.
What does that even mean?
A fear that is not rational.
A fear that doesn't make sense. Yes. Just say yes. You have plenty of irrational fears.
Yeah, I guess I do.
I don't know if they're self-defense related necessarily,
not.
but you
I'm
have
scared to
lots.
death of dogs and cats.
Why are you scared of cats?
And frogs
Why are you
and
scared of
mice.
us?
And
Why are you
And
scared of
rats.
frogs? Have you
She
been,
doesn't like animals.
have you been attacked by a frog?
No.
she has been attacked by a cat.
I know.
I'll give her that much.
Okay.
And I'm allergic to all kinds of furry animals, so.
But you're not allergic to frogs.
I would say no.
I'm not allergic to fish either. I have them as pets.
Okay.
She loves her fish.
Um,
I saw like irrational fears like public restrooms.
Any type of germ?
Yeah, there's a
Infested
myriad
place.
of reasons there for that, but I don't know if that's that's closest to a self-defense irrational fear that I have.
I think the closest thing I've got, and I didn't realize this was, I've never really had to think about it much until I was asked this question actually recently. But like the deep ocean, like I would never be one to go down in a submarine. But I think it's just all of mine are around the ocean. Like I'm fine with swimming in the ocean and everything. But I think my biggest one is just jellyfish, probably. Because anytime someone's like, "Oh, there's a jellyfish there," I'm out of the water. Like
It's
I
not
don't.
as terrible as it seems. I've been stung by one.
I know,
It went
but
between my legs and it wrapped around.
it's just something about that. Like I can't see things. Like North Carolina water is not the clearest in the world, and so when someone says they see something and then I can no longer see it, I'm like, I'm
She's
out.
gone.
I don't
Yeah.
know where it is.
Off a little bit off, very off subject. You mentioned North Carolina. I was sitting there thinking about this right before we started. North Carolina weather is weird because we were 80 some degrees 2 days ago, and now you three are all sitting there in hoodies. I'm in shorts, going like, man, I probably shouldn't have done that today.
It was cold this morning.
And to be
was.
fair, it's pretty much always chilly down here. So, like, it could be the dead heat of summer, and I walk downstairs here and I'm a little bit cold. But that's just because this is a concrete room with no windows.
Sorry, I didn't mean to lead us off.
That's okay.
That's fine. But yeah, I'm not a fan of jellyfish or, being in the water with something I can't see. So there's that.
I'm terrified of wolves. Not that
Maybe
we
I'm
really
just
have
scared
them
of-
around here, but I'm terrified of wolves.
It's hilarious. Just
Thought I'd throw that in there.
No, but I think I'm just scared of not being able to see through the water. Like, probably. That's just cloudy water. I'll swim in it, but still scared of it.
Gotcha. Okay, moving on. This is a little more of a serious question. How does one deal with the aftermath of a self-defense situation?
It sucks.
Counseling.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It
Yeah.
depends on the severity.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be helpful with, like, giving a self-defense situation that we've been in and then the after effects of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked a couple times about a couple times where I've been in a situation where I've had to like talk myself out of the situation. And in both cases, it's very, very high adrenaline strike, and it takes a lot of control not to like freak out in that moment. But afterwards, it's the adrenaline dump. And I know we've actually had a whole podcast or two on that when you were on that with us, and it's different. And we didn't come to blows. It was all words, but still there is this definite thing.
Yeah.
But like Jada said, it really depends on the severity. I mean, if this is a situation where you have come to blows, you're probably going to feel a lot more. If this is a situation where you've actually had to pull like a weapon and use that weapon, you're going to feel even more. I think it's going to be think about it like a car crash almost. The worse the car crash is, the longer the effects are going to be with you. I don't think that you're ever going to be able to, a rational, decent person is not going to be able to pull out a gun or a weapon of some type, shoot somebody or stab somebody or whatever in self-defense and walk away just feeling perfectly fine.
Right.
So think about it. I would say think about it similar to a car crash. The more severe the car crash is, probably the longer it's going to take to kind of get over. And yeah, it may require counseling.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing people need to understand is that there is no reason for you to have to be okay after something happens.
Yeah.
You have to accept that something horrible happened and let yourself feel all of that, no matter how badly it sucks. Because if you put it off or distract yourself and you don't let yourself handle it and work through it, then you're going to end up with a whole lot of underlying issues. We're going to do a podcast with Sharice Johnson again, right?
Yes.
Expired Mindsets. Guys, Expired Mindsets is a fantastic book that you should really consider reading. And
Especially if you've been in a situation like that.
Yes, and I think one of the biggest practical applications of it is in the aftermath of a self-defense situation.
Yep.
Because really, like, you could be in a situation where nothing even technically ended up happening because you got away, and it still has a really long-lasting effect and lasting panic afterwards. No matter how big and tough you are, it's gonna suck.
Yeah.
And you have to recognize that there's nothing weak about you in that you're not okay afterwards.
Yeah, we'll actually have her on within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
But I think about some people that I know that would probably struggle with the feeling weak afterwards because vulnerability is not their strong suit. You've got to recognize no matter how tough you want to be, you've got to, the only way to get past something is to be honest about where you're at afterwards.
If you could train with any historical figure, who would it be? That's for all of you.
I know there's people going to want me to say Bruce Lee, but I'm not going to say Bruce Lee.
We knew you weren't going to say Bruce Lee.
And I know that comment right there is going to get some hate. I don't care. Okay. I mean, I guess it would just depend on my goal and my outcome. Being someone who's done Kyokushin, I would have to say Masayama. But he really, really had an interest in what real combat was like. And, you know, full contact type of things, what that does to the human body and what that does and how that works and what really works and all this kind of stuff. But not just him. You have people like Elio Gracie. I think it would be very interesting to train with him because I know he had very much so a self-defense mind for smaller people kind of thing.
Right.
I guess it might be, well, go back to like who or what styles of different things that I find interesting and then looking at the founder, what their original aspect and original thoughts were.
Right.
But right off the top of my head, I would have to go with Masayama and Helio Gracie.
Cool. Jada?
I'd probably just end up going straight for Masayama, but there would be a lot of consideration on my part to train with like a Navy SEAL or something, just because when I think of Unbreakable, those are the guys I think of.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but that's not even necessarily historical. I mean, we get people that go through this stuff now. But,
Exactly.
But,
so
yeah.
that one's not necessarily a historical person, but
yeah, if we're thinking about modern people, I have trained with SEALs and Rangers, and those guys. Whew.
yeah. But I think when I think of mindset, I was like, they're the kind that just keep going.
Yes.
And that's it. You just keep going. And for someone who values that part so much, you know, I'd be very tempted to just train with one of those guys.
Do you have an answer, Kylie?
I'd be terrified of it, though. Not going to lie.
Okay, we're going to skip Kylie on that one because she says she doesn't have an answer. Okay. Jada, have you ever found yourself in a self-defense situation? And if so, can you please share?
Several. I don't think I've really had any that I haven't talked about already on the podcast, but the most notable one is that one that came down to getting away because I never had to throw a strike. I never even spoke to the people. But the one where I had to choose my course of action and stick with it was one time when I was heading out of here from work one day. I leave here pretty late on some weekdays. This was one of those really late days, and it was dark outside, and our parking lot is across the street inside of a fenced-in lot with 2 openings. I had walked in, shut one of the openings so that Brian didn't have to when he left, and was going to drive out of one. So I closed off one of my exits, and then 2 guys that were obviously under the influence of something came walking around the corner of a building connected to our parking lot. And I was just going, well, I'm just going to keep walking for my car. But it's a fairly large parking lot. But in my head, I'm going, they're under the influence of something. So if I start running, that's obvious that they're freaking me out. And you've got to really trust your instincts, because running would have gotten me to my car faster. But also, for 2 people that you can't predict their behavior, I didn't know if that was going to turn on some kind of chase response, So I can hear them talking loudly and with pretty vulgar language. And then all of a sudden, I hear them say, well, look at her. She probably thinks we're going to rob her. And in my head, I'm sitting there like, great. And, of course, my adrenaline spikes. As soon as I hear them refer to me, my adrenaline spikes. I'm in fight, flight, or freeze mode. Like, that's my defining moment there. And all I can think is, I'm just going to pretend I heard nothing and walk straight for my car as confidently as I can. And then I hear them say, well, what are we waiting for? Let's go for her. And they start to turn into the parking lot. I unlock my car, I get in the seat, I lock the door. By then, they're like already pretty much to my trunk. But as soon as I lock the door and turn my car on and the lights on, I see them turn and walk back out of the gate and start walking across the street to the school. And so I start to move my car, and I'm letting them get a tiny bit further away before I actually leave the lot, because I don't really want them to see where I'm going. But at the same time, I'm trying to call I'm trying to call Brian on my phone, because I know he can get to me faster than the police can if anything's happening. But I discovered that my service had ran out and it hadn't notified me. So I had no way of contacting anybody. So I drove straight to the back of the school and let Brian know what happened. They ended up locking the front door. And of course, my adrenaline crashed right there. As soon as I got in the back door and knew I was around Brian and Scott and our other people in a place that I felt more safe, I crashed completely. Because anytime you're in that kind of situation, no matter how much training that you have, you wonder if you're making the right decisions.
Yeah.
You always wonder if you're going to do something stupid that's going to make things worse. And all I could do was thank God that he gave me the instincts to just keep walking, because after I saw them turn in, they weren't in a rush when they started walking into the parking lot. And I guarantee you, if I'd have started running, I really do think that they would have started running too.
Yeah.
And then I would have ended up in some kind of fight. Thankfully, I didn't realize this, but Kylie had seen I think Kylie had noticed that the 2 guys were walking past the building anyway. So if something worse had happened, I'm pretty sure she would have heard me at least.
Didn't you start watching because you saw him?
Yeah.
So she was watching you didn't realize anybody was watching you. Kylie happened to be watching.
No, I was very focused on looking at my car while hearing what they were saying.
Well, you can't see inside this building anyway.
Yeah.
Because the way the lights are, or the way the windows are tinted and everything. But yeah, Kylie happened to be watching. So I guess if something had happened, Kylie could have called out.
Yeah, but as far as I know, that one had the most potential of going horribly wrong. Okay. So that was a very long, roundabout story of saying, something could have happened, but didn't.
But your preparedness probably stopped something from happening. So.
Yeah, trusting instincts is very important.
Yep. All right, Brian, how do you recommend people maintain their self-defense skills over time?
Continue to train. whether that's a regular martial arts class or finding 2 or so, seminars to attend every year. Continue to train, continue to make it a priority in your life.
If somebody went to a self-defense seminar 5 years ago, and they
I
haven't
don't
practiced
think
it,
so.
are they still going to remember those things?
Not. Absolutely not. That's why I say it's if you decide, well, I don't want to go out here and take martial arts. That's fine. Not everybody is, wants to be a martial artist, but what you want to do is at least, I say minimum 2 seminars a year of something, just to keep some skills and things in your mind, and try, maybe train with some different people, or at least the same person but on different subjects, to constantly kind of keep it interesting and different as well.
All right, this is definitely for you. How does your background in martial arts influence your approach to self-defense?
Well, I think martial arts gives you a certain level of confidence just by doing it, and starting to understand, because you start to see growth in yourself and your abilities, from where you began to where you are now. So it gives you the certain level of confidence to be able to carry yourself, which also makes a huge difference in your self-defense, because if you're carrying yourself with more confidence, you're less likely to be selected as a target anyway. So really, I guess a lot of it is just that. A lot of it's the mental stuff. We've talked about things before. Certain things in martial arts, and definitely certain trainings that I've done in martial arts, have been very mentally strengthening. Making you focus on doing something while other people are messing with you and trying to distract you in different things. That creates a certain mental strength in you and your ability to focus on the things that need to be done in those moments. I go back to like my first really big MMA fight, and things were not going well for me. I had my nose broken. I'm been taken down. I'm now on the ground. The guy's pounded me in the face. But in that moment, when all the other things are going horribly wrong for me, then I still was able to put all that out, even while being punched in the face, move around, sweep him, take his back, and end up choking him and winning the fight. Without the training that I'd had in which I realize that's martial arts too, but without some of that other training that I'd had in martial arts of, being able to push past whatever's happening in that moment and do what you have to do, that would have been very hard. So it's very mentally strengthening.
Okay. All right. Do you believe everyone, even people with disabilities, should learn self-defense? Whoever wants to answer that
Go
one.
ahead, Kylie. You almost started.
Yes.
Why?
Because self-defense is a human right, and everyone deserves to defend to.
Do you believe that people with disabilities are going to be able to defend themselves?
They can work a way around defending themselves, yes.
So they
They
can
can
modify.
adapt.
They can adapt and modify things.
Yeah.
Now, there are, of course, major exceptions, like someone paralyzed from the shoulders down. That would be very difficult. But generally, like someone who has a bad leg or is missing an arm, those people can still learn to defend themselves.
Absolutely. And even in a lot of cases, I think the learning awareness and learning all the other stuff, that will help tremendously for everybody. So even if it's just the mental side of it, I definitely believe everyone should have, your life is worth defending, so learn to defend it,
Right.
basically.
Okay. All right. This is for everybody. So I don't care what order you answer it in. What is the most unusual weapon you've ever seen someone use for self-defense?
An alligator.
I was really hoping somebody would pull that answer out.
Absolutely.
An alligator.
Yeah, the best improvised weapon I've ever seen. So Jada we have our news story. Normally have our news story of the podcast, and Jada brings up this fight that happened on a beach, and this guy
Florida
picks
man?
up-
Was it a Florida man?
No, this was in
It was
Brazil.
in Brazil, which is
Brazil. That's right. Okay.
Florida of the rest of the world.
Okay, go ahead.
And so this dude picks up this Cayman young crocodile and was like trying to use it as a defense, as a weapon. That's my favorite.
France made the guy back up, that's
Yep.
for sure.
I would back up.
I would too. That is my absolute favorite improvised weapon story I've ever heard. I've yet to hear one that tops it.
How do you balance the idea of self-defense with the importance of nonviolence and non-aggression?
Well, I think, again, you go back to You know, I go to church with a dude, and he looked at me one day, and he goes, and this is completely, I didn't ask for his thoughts on me or anything. And we were just talking one day, he goes, you know, Brian, he said, you come across as somebody who is really nice and just really kind, but also somebody that you don't want to cross. I said, awesome. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, that's great. That's kind of what I'm shooting for. I want to be a very kind individual. I do not love conflict. I actually despise conflict. I hate those types of situations, and I really hate violence in the act of, you know, violence. But I still believe that we need that switch so we can turn that on in those moments. Because, again, we go back to your life or the life of your wife, child, husband, whatever is worth defending.
Yeah, I just see it as options. You know, the more training that you have and the more capable of violence you are, the more options you have when something goes horribly wrong. Like, you think about it, people see, you know, someone trained in martial arts as someone much more capable of violence than the average person, but also we're some of the ones the least likely to have to use it.
Yep.
You think about the average person and their knowledge of self-defense, and, you know, pretty much anybody who's a decent citizen can get access to a handgun, you know. And if they have no other training, what are their options? Avoid, run, or shoot. Those are basically their options.
Yeah.
So when you only have 3 options, you know, there's a 1/3% likelihood that you're going to have to shoot, right? You know?
That's why you see people draw guns on things that have no reason for having guns drawn.
Exactly. But when you think about us who are trained in violence very heavily, we have so many more options because I don't just, you know, have a gun.
Plus,
I
you're
have
a lot less
knowledge
likely to
and
be attacked to
training.
begin with.
Yes, exactly. So I just think people who see it as we're training ourselves in violence don't have a full understanding of what we're really training. We're just training ourselves to have options.
I'm sorry. I'm really realizing that putting ice in my coffee this morning was not the best idea.
It's kind of funny. I just laugh every time I hear the ice cube jingling over there.
Yeah.
All right, this is the last question. Which is more important, the mental aspect or the physical aspect of self-defense?
Mental.
Mental.
Definitely mental.
But your mental should be backed up by the physical.
Exactly.
I really thoroughly believe that.
Your mental will be more stable when it's backed by physical, just like our currency is more stable when it's backed by gold. But, you know. Little American analogy there.
If I kept count correctly, that was 24 questions. I think we still have at least 10 more questions that people sent in. So we're going to get to those eventually, but, you know,
Cool.
we can only ask questions for so long today.
Yeah.
All right. Do y'all have any comments or anything? Or
I'm really impressed with the questions these people came up with to
I
ask.
didn't know what to expect.
Yeah,
I didn't
you
know
never
either.
do. Anytime you give the public a chance to ask questions, you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. So we're going to try to say, maybe you submitted a question, we didn't get to it. Maybe you wanted to submit a question and you didn't. Okay. We're going to give you the opportunity because we're going to take a question or two to try to answer it at the end of each episode. Can't guarantee we're going to do that at all the episodes, but at least the ones we remember, we will try to get that and have a question or two at the end of each episode.
all right, guys. Thank y'all for answering the questions. Thank you to everyone who sent questions in, and we will see you in the next episode.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.